Welcome to this new episode of The Disabled Life. The purpose of this podcast is to tell people how I live my life. The name I'm using on the podcast now is The Disabled Guy, because I felt that you needed to hear something as opposed to just my voice there. I'm a disabled male living in Florida with cerebral palsy. I'm here to tell you how I live my life and some of the volunteer work that I do and how I managed to do it with cerebral palsy. Without further ado, let's go into the episode. Okay, this episode is going to be called Things Didn't Go As Planned. Yesterday I had an appointment with a doctor's appointment. So we get up at 6:30. I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. to get ready for the appointment. So nobody contacts us. Nobody contacts me or anything. So we assume that the appointment is on. So we go there. We get to the location. My mom tells them that I have an appointment, and they go, "I'm sorry." They tell her, "I'm sorry. The appointment has been canceled and moved to another location, and the doctor is not here today." So we go home. But that's not the end of this thing. Now I'm going to give you a piece of advice. As a disabled member of the community, I must be careful. We must be careful, not I must be careful. We must be careful how we approach doctors. Because doctors are what they call mandatory reporters. And we have to be careful we don't want. And so the way I approach this situation is I will not tell them anything, even though I was very annoyed and upset about it. But the reason I'm not going to say anything about it is because they don't know me. I don't want them to think that I'm a troublemaker or to think that I'm a cuckoo, which I'm not cuckoo and I'm not a troublemaker. I'm just a regular adult that's annoyed because they made me get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to an appointment that wasn't to be. They should call us, communicate with us, and tell me what was going on. So, and they said, so they said sorry, and they said you should have called the patient, which they didn't do. But my piece of advice here is to be very careful. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. It's funny because as a disabled patient, we have to be careful on how we handle these things. So it's something very bad. So, for example, I had a situation where I had a disagreement with a doctor at one time, and because I felt that he was not listening to me, but he was some kind of student doctor. So I talked to my primary and I said, "Look, I don't like this. He gave me the wrong medicine. They gave me a bunch of medicine with side effects. I say that's the wrong medicine because if he would have listened to me, I would have been able to talk to him. But no, he was talking to my family member way too much, to the point where I was not happy. So sorry about the noise. I know we don't record at night, but because of some stuff that happened, I record tonight. I want to get this episode up before I go to bed. So, as I was saying, my advice is just be careful. If you have your parents with you to go to an appointment, let them talk the first time if there's issues. So let the doctors get to know you first, and then you can voice your opinions. Because that's the way I feel. Because that's why I said don't let your emotion get to you, because they might say, oh no, this is a troublemaker, or oh no, this or that, or I don't want to do that. I just want to let you know what happened to me, how I feel about it, and that also we need to be advocates for ourselves, yes, but we need to be careful how we do it, because we don't want to be considered. Oh, and another thing that I'm going to say is, I am fully medically competent to make sign my own paperwork, make my own decisions, and that's important. I do it. I do it. I make my own appointments. I schedule my own appointments. I schedule my own STS trips. I do all those things that most people do. It's weird when you first start making your own medical appointments, but that's part of being an adult. You gotta do what you gotta do. And then doctors start talking to you, and that's the way it is. And that's the way I want it. I don't like when, sometimes I've not had this experience, but I know people that have disabled people that have this experience where the doctor talks past them and talks to the person that's with them. I agree with taking a person with you to the doctor, because you may want your family members to understand what they're going to be doing. If it's a treatment, whatever, that, I agree with that. And also, they can help you they can help you come up with a list of questions for the doctor. So, that's a good thing. But as a fully competent adult, you should be able to talk to the doctor. And that's something important to me. Something really important is that you should be able to talk to your doctors. Let me give you if for some reason you don't feel, let me give you this piece of advice. If your doctor has students with him or her, and you're not comfortable with that, you don't have to let those people in. You can ask them to leave, but do it in a nice way. Or the way I would handle it is I would tell my doctor, no, I'm not comfortable with this, But just talk to them. Just talk in a nice, calm way. Don't because if you talk in a rude or yell at them, you don't get anything. They're saying you get more bees with sugar than with vinegar. You understand what I'm saying by that? So talk to them. Be nice and just do. I say advocate. Yes, advocate, but do your thing the right way. And it's something that we have to do as individuals. There is something that's something that's important, very important and very nice that they do. But when doctors get to know you, and when your doctors get to know you, it's different, because then they'll start communicating with you in a way that you want them to. It's it's hard. Sometimes it's hard, because there was a time I talked about this more in depth in a previous episode a long time ago. I had a problem at a day surgery center. So I'm sitting here, going to a procedure, and all of a sudden they had to put me. They put me out. They put me out under. They gave me milk of magnesia, if you know what that is. That's a funny name. I don't use that. Yeah, no, it's one of those where I'm like, okay. And they go and they talked around me. They had said to my mom, I think it was my mom or dad, does he know his medical history? I'm like, I took a deep breath there and I didn't say anything, but I was not happy. I was pissed off. Honestly, I was pissed off. I don't think that was right of them to do that. So, coming soon, I had said that I was gonna go on SDS on a trip, and I announced it, and I had to change that because I didn't do it. But coming soon, it is gonna happen. This is important, you guys. Please advocate, but know when to do it or not to do it. I don't recommend, if there's an issue, I don't recommend that you talk about, that you go in there in a bowl like a bull in a china shop. You don't do that. That's when you use your parents or whoever's with you. Talk to them and explain to them. And then as they get to know you, you can do this. As they get to know you, you can go in and step into the advocate role, which you should always be in that role, because that's important. You should always have a voice. And in healthcare, you need a voice because you are the one that's in that place, getting treatment, whatever. That's good. But also understand that sometimes people don't like it. Some doctors don't mean to do it, but they're not used to the disabled community. Sadly, it's true. Some doctors are not used to the disabled community, are not used to working with us, don't know how to work with us. So it's, sad. But they're humans. They make mistakes too. But don't let those mistakes get you in a situation where you shouldn't be. Don't let those mistakes, like happened to me, take a medication that give me side effects, and I knew because I had taken it once before and it was a problem. So I knew and I couldn't handle it. So that's what I'm saying. It's something important to me. Something important to tell you guys. Please advocate. In closing, let me say thank you for listening to this episode of The Disabled Life. You can follow me on the following platforms. You can follow me at Good Pods. You can leave comments, messages there. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Disabled Guy. And you can also listen to me on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and many others. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll also give you my email. My email is Kilo Echo 4 Kilo Echo Yankee, or KE4KEY@gmail.com. Once again, thank you, and thank you for your support, and I'll see you next week. Okay, when I recorded that outro, I did not know that you could star rate on Spotify, and I knew you could on an Apple Podcast. I would appreciate some ratings on Apple Podcast and Spotify, because that actually helps my podcast.